0600 hours, open waters, South China Sea. The sun bleeds a pale orange light across the eastern horizon. The ocean surface is glass, disturbed only by the sharp gray prow of the German frigate cutting through the swell. On the aft deck, hydraulic cranes whine in the morning air. Crew members in blue fatigues move with practiced efficiency, checking cables and sensor arrays. The air tastes of salt and diesel fumes. A heavy steel ramp lowers into the wash. The commander watches from the bridge wing, binoculars pressed to his eyes. He gives a sharp hand signal. The crane operator pushes a lever. The tension of the mission hangs heavy on the deck plates. 10 sleek gray shapes slide into the water one by one. Combat drones, unmanned surface vessels. They hit the waves with a heavy splash, engines roaring to life instantly. White foam churns behind their sterns. They automatically align into a wedge formation. The lead drone accelerates. The others follow in perfect synchronization. Their prows slice the water, throwing spray high into the air. The frigate peels away to the west, its wake curving sharply. The drone squadron pushes east. Their radar dishes spin rapidly. Cameras rotate, scanning the empty horizon. They are hunters. They move fast, bouncing violently over the swells. Engines hum a high-pitched whine that vibrates the air. Salt spray coats their optical sensors. They look like sharks made of composite armor, relentlessly pushing forward. Inside the frigate's combat information center, screens flicker to life. 10 green dots appear on the tactical map. A lieutenant adjusts a joystick. He confirms the data link is stable. The formation holds steady at 30 knots. The officer taps the glass screen. The squadron disappears into the morning mist. The only trace is the wide white wake stretching back toward the mothership. The ocean swallows the sound of their engines. Silence returns to the frigate's deck. 0630 hours, 100 meters below the surface. The ocean is pitch black here. The pressure is crushing, pressing against the steel hull of the Iranian attack submarine with immense force. Inside, the air is stale and recycled, humming with the low vibration of the electric motors. The control room is bathed in a dim red light. Sailors sit hunched over consoles, faces illuminated by the green glow of sonar screens. The silence is heavy, broken only by the rhythmic dripping of condensation from an overhead pipe. The sonar operator presses his headphones tighter against his ears. He closes his eyes, he listens. Through the static of the ocean, the clicks of shrimp, the groan of currents, he hears it. A high-pitched mechanical whine. It is faint, but it is distinct. "Contact," he whispers. His voice cuts through the quiet. The captain turns slowly. He steps toward the sonar station. He looks at the waterfall display. 10 distinct lines streak down the screen. They are uniform, artificial. Bearing 090, the operator reports. High-speed surface vessels, multiple contacts. The captain nods once. He grabs the overhead railing as the submarine shifts slightly in the current. He stares at the digital plot. The red dots on the screen move in a perfect wedge. Propeller signature matches, the operator says. Small displacement, high RPM drones. The captain's eyes narrow. He looks at his weapons officer. The weapons officer stands ready, hands hovering over the firing panel. The tension in the room spikes. Every man freezes. They know the drill. Periscope depth, the captain orders. Quietly. The submarine tilts upward. The deck angles steeply. Ballast tanks hiss softly as air replaces water. The vessel rises through the black water like a leviathan waking from sleep. The humming of the screws above grows louder. It sounds like a swarm of angry hornets buzzing against the roof of the world. 700 hours, the Narrows. The ocean floor rises sharply here. Jagged coral reefs squeeze the channel into a tight choke point. The 10 German drones tighten their formation. They reduce speed to 20 knots. Their hulls slap rhythmically against the choppy waves. Spray flies over their bows, washing down the gray composite armor. The cameras swivel left and right, scanning the nearby rocky outcrops for threats. The channel is silent, save for the wind and the engines. 70 meters below, the Iranian submarine hovers in the thermal shadow. The hull groans under the shifting pressure. The captain stands behind the weapons officer. He leans forward. The green light of the console reflects in his eyes. On the screen, the 10 targets move into the kill box. They are perfectly aligned. Range 2,000 meters, the weapons officer reports. His voice is flat, solution locked. The captain watches the digital timer count down. He nods. Flood tubes 1 through 4, he commands. The order travels through the headset. In the torpedo room, heavy valves slam open. High-pressure seawater rushes into the launch tubes with a violent hiss. The sound reverberates through the steel hull. It sounds like a dam breaking. The massive torpedoes sit in their dark, wet chambers. The guidance wires coil in their dispensers. Tubes flooded, the report comes back. Equalization complete. Open outer doors. Hydraulics whine. The heavy steel shutters on the submarine's bow grind open. The black ocean water meets the warheads. The submarine shudders slightly as the hydrodynamics change. Above, the drones push deeper into the trap. Their radar detects nothing. The water beneath them is cold and empty. They are blind to the steel leviathans waiting below. The captain raises his hand. The weapons officer unlocks the firing safety. A red light blinks on the panel. The trigger is live. 07:05 hours, Submarine Combat Center. The red battle lighting casts long, sharp shadows across the deck plates. The air is thick with the smell of ozone and sweat. The weapons officer holds his breath, his thumb hovering millimeters above the red firing stud. The hull creaks as the current pushes against the steel. The digital range counter hits 0. "Fire!" the captain barks. The word is a hammer blow. The officer jams his thumb down. A deafening whoosh erupts from the bow. Compressed air screams through the piping. The entire submarine shudders violently as tons of water are displaced in a split second. Tube 1 empties. The heavy torpedo kicks out of the muzzle, hurled into the crushing black depth. Fire 2, Fire 3, Fire 4. The sequence is rapid, brutal. The submarine bucks 3 more times. High-pressure air blasts the weapons clear of the hull. Outside, the water churns into a white frenzy of bubbles. The torpedoes hang suspended for a heartbeat, drifting in the momentum. Then, their engines ignite. Twin counter-rotating propellers bite into the water. They spin up to maximum RPM instantly. A high-pitched mechanical shriek pierces the ocean silence. The torpedoes accelerate. They tear through the water, leaving a trail of cavitation bubbles. The guidance wires unspool from the back, thin copper lifelines connecting the weapons to the submarine. They level out and begin their ascent. 4 dark shapes streak upward like underwater missiles, hunting the shadows on the surface. 7:07 hours, the surface of the strait. The morning sun glares off the water, blindingly bright. The 10 German drones continue their patrol, engines humming a steady rhythm. They bob and weave through the chop, their prows dipping into the swells. The camera lenses are fixed on the distant shoreline. The world above the water is calm. Suddenly, the passive sonar array on the lead drone spikes. A jagged red line shoots up the frequency monitor. The hydrophones detect a high-pitched, screaming mechanical whine. It gets louder every second. The onboard computer processes the acoustic signature instantly. Threat confirmed. High-speed projectile. The drone's automated defense system triggers. The rudder jams hard to starboard. The engine roars, revving to maximum RPM. The hull heels over violently, the deck almost touching the water. White foam sprays over the sensors. The vessel tries to sprint, to break the lock. Behind it, the ocean's surface bulges. A massive pressure wave pushes the water upward. A white scar tears across the deep blue sea, moving impossibly fast. The wake looks like a zipper opening the ocean floor. The torpedo is shallow now. Its propeller churns the water into a boiling froth. The other drones detect the noise. They scatter. The formation breaks. Hulls collide with waves as they turn sharply. Engines whine in protest, but the lead torpedo is relentless. It corrects its course. The wake curves, following the desperate turn of the target. The dark cylindrical shape breaches the surface for a split second, slick and glistening, before diving back under the foam. The water pressure wave hits the drone's hull first. The vessel shudders as the sea around it is displaced by the rushing mass of steel. The gap closes 50 meters, 20 meters. The sound of the torpedo's screw drowns out everything else. 7:10 hours impact zone. The gap vanishes. The heavy torpedo slams into the starboard keel of the lead drone. The sheer kinetic force buckles the composite hull inward. Steel crushes fiberglass. Then, the warhead detonates. A massive sphere of expanding gas erupts from the center of the vessel. The ocean surface tears open. A geyser of white water, black smoke, and orange flame shoots 50 meters into the sky. The drone vanishes inside the explosion. The sound is a chest-thumping crack that echoes off the distant reefs. The hull disintegrates instantly. Shards of burning metal and plastic are hurled outward like jagged shrapnel. The heavy engine block rips free from its mounts. It spins through the air, trailing black oil before crashing back into the sea with a violent splash. The shockwave hammers the water, creating a wall of pressure that rolls outward. Nearby drones are tossed like toys. They ride the violent swell, their sensors blinded by the curtain of falling water. The smoke clears slowly. Where the lead drone was, there is only a patch of bubbling, oily foam. Twisted wires and jagged pieces of gray decking bob on the surface. The water turns murky with stirred-up sediment and leaking fuel. Deep below, the submarine shudders from the distant concussion. The sonar screens wash out with a bloom of white static. "Impact confirmed," the operator shouts over the noise. "Target 1 destroyed." The captain grips the rail. He does not smile. His eyes stay on the plot. "Reload tube 1, guide the rest." 07:15 hours, the debris field. Black smoke hangs low over the water, stinging the air with the smell of burnt plastic. The ocean surface churns violently. The remaining 9 drones are no longer a formation. They are a scattered pack of frightened animals. Their onboard computers scream warnings. Collision alarms blare. The vessels initiate emergency evasion protocols. They throttle up to 40 knots. The engines howl, straining against the red line. The drones tear into sharp, erratic S-turns. They slash through the water, throwing massive walls of spray to the left and right. Wakes cross over each other. The water turns into a confused mess of white foam and chopping waves. One drone banks too hard. Its starboard rail dips under the surface. It nearly capsizes, rolling wildly before the stabilizer fins catch the water. It corrects and sprints north. Behind them, the 3 remaining torpedoes hunt. They ignore the turbulence. They punch through the walls of bubbles. Their sonar heads ping rapidly, sending high-pitched chirps through the water. They track the engine noise. They adjust. A torpedo wake cuts across the path of a fleeing drone. The steel cylinder misses the drone's stern by meters. The pressure wave lifts the small vessel's tail, slamming its nose down into a swell. Water washes over the camera deck. The drone shudders, loses speed for a fraction of a second, then accelerates again. The chase is chaotic. It is a high-speed, deadly dance of steel and water. 07:20 hours, submarine control room. The weapons officer leans over the fire control console. Sweat drips from his chin onto the steel deck. His hands grip the guidance joysticks tight. The thin copper wires trailing the torpedoes are still intact. He is the puppeteer. On the tactical display, the green dots of the drones scatter like frightened minnows. The red chevrons of the torpedoes drift wide. The officer grinds his teeth. He jams the stick hard to the left. Miles away, deep underwater, the number 2 torpedo snaps its rudder. It abandons its straight run. It whips around in a tight, unnatural curve. The G-force screams against the metal casing. The propeller bites into the turn, churning the dark water. On the surface, 2 drones cross paths in a desperate maneuver. They slash through each other's wakes, churning the water into a wall of white foam. They try to confuse the sonar. It works for a moment. The acoustic picture blurs, but the wire guidance ignores the decoys. The officer watches the raw data. He ignores the noise. He lines up the vector. He guides the torpedo into the center of the convergence. The weapon corrects its depth. It rises rapidly. It levels out 5 meters below the surface. It is a silent steel predator sliding into the kill zone. The drones unknowingly race toward the intercept point. The trap snaps shut. 07:30 hours, center of the strait. The ocean surface is a confused, churning mess of white water and overlapping wakes. The 2 German drones complete their crossover maneuver, straightening out side by side. They run parallel, separated by only 20 meters. Their engines scream at maximum RPM. They cut through the swells, thinking they have cleared the danger zone. The water between them bulges upward. It is the only warning they get. The second torpedo breaches the surface. It does not hit a hull directly. The magnetic proximity fuse detects the metal of the engines. It detonates. A massive sphere of superheated gas expands instantly. The shockwave is a physical hammer. It catches both drones in the blast radius. The water turns into a solid wall of pressure. It smashes the fiberglass hulls inward, crushing them like aluminum cans. The fuel tanks rupture. A fireball erupts from the spray, consuming the oxygen. The explosion lifts the twisted wreckage of both vessels 10 feet into the air. They hang there for a second, wreathed in orange flame, before crashing back down. Seconds later, the third torpedo arrives. It slams into a trailing drone that slowed to avoid the first blast. The impact is direct. The warhead shears the bow completely off. The drone flips end over end, spraying oil and debris across the channel. The detonation vaporizes the center section. Metal screams as it twists and snaps. A chain reaction of destruction tears through the pack. Shrapnel from the exploding vessels acts like grape shot, peppering the water. A sharp piece of steel casing slices through the cowling of a fourth drone. Its engine seizes. It spins out of control, dead in the water. Burning fuel spreads across the surface, creating a floating lake of fire. Thick black smoke joins the steam, choking the air. Debris rains down. Shattered antennas, hull plates, and smashed camera lenses splash into the boiling sea. 800 hours. Open water, northern exit of the strait. The morning sun is high now, baking the ocean surface. One final German drone races north. It is the sole survivor. Smoke trails from a scorch mark on its aft deck, a scar from a near miss. The engine cowling vibrates violently. The vessel pushes 45 knots, its hull skipping across the wave tops like a skipped stone. On the horizon, 5 miles away, the gray silhouette of the German frigate grows larger. It is safety. It is the finish line. The drone's antennas rotate frantically, beaming distress data to the mothership. Behind it, the water parts. A single white wake cuts through the blue swell. It is straight, clean, and terrifyingly fast. The heavy torpedo closes the gap. It moves at 55 knots. It eats the distance. The drone's stern camera captures the approaching death. The onboard computer attempts one final juke. The rudder snaps hard left. The torpedo ignores the feint. It anticipates the momentum. It drives straight through the drone's wake. The impact is distinct. The blunt nose of the torpedo hammers into the drone's transom. The collision sound is the crunch of crushing metal. The 300-kilogram warhead triggers instantly. A violent flash expands from the stern. The explosion lifts the entire vessel out of the water. The drone disintegrates mid-air. The composite hull shatters into thousands of unrecognizable shards. The engine block flies upward, tumbling through the smoke before splashing down 50 meters away. A heavy mist of fuel and seawater hangs in the air where the vessel used to be. The ocean rushes in to fill the void, swirling around floating bits of wire and gray plastic. On the distant frigate, the tracking dot on the screen blinks once, then vanishes. The signal is dead. The officer lowers his binoculars. The horizon is empty again.